Welcome to Mid-Century Living, your weekly nostalgia podcast about the best of technology and culture from the mid-20th century.
Welcome to episode 56 of Mid-Century Living, the show where we talk all about the best of the mid-20th century and how to add vintage vibes to your modern life. We're your hosts, Jackie
and Gonzalo. Thank you for joining us today. So since the holiday season is almost upon us, and of course we know that gifts are the reason for the season, at least for kids, today we're going to cover some of the top toys that came out of the mid-century. But first, Jackie, how was your week?
My week was good, and now that Thanksgiving's over, it is free to be all Christmas all the time. So it's full on hit the ground running Christmas prep around here. I've got a better handle on how I'm trying to theme Christmas decorations. I'm hoping it all looks good as it does in theory, since we're recording this in the past. By the time this episode comes out, I'll probably have already decorated and maybe changed my mind once I put everything together and decided it doesn't match. But right now, in the past, I'm very optimistic about all of my Christmas decorations working out. So I'm doing all silver and gold decorations. I got some silver and gold tinsel garland to put around the walkway area between the living room and the kitchen. There's a little arch, not really arch, it's like a square cutout that you walk in between the two, and I'm going to put garland around that, and then I'm going to put that same garland out front so it you can walk into the house and it matches, and my Christmas ornaments all match each other. So I've been making these hopefully they all work together and it looks as good as it does in my head. So fingers crossed. How about you? How was your week?
My week was good because it is the Thanksgiving season, or was. What I did is kept on my family tradition of making candied pumpkin. So it's a thing that we do. According to my mom, I make the third generation to do it.
Cute.
But it's delicious, and it's an Argentine dessert, and it's basically pumpkin, right? That you cut into cubes, and you have to let it cure overnight. Now, there's several different ways of curing it. Some people cure it in ashes. Some people cure it in basically quicklime, which is an ingredient in cement.
Okay.
I used bicarbonate, which is baking soda.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But anyway, you cure it. It makes this little kind of hard on the outside cubes of pumpkin, and then you put them with equal parts sugar to make a syrup, and then you can them, and then you eat them with heavy cream in a bowl.
Yum.
And they're amazing. And I have not tried them yet because they had to sit in the fridge for a little while. Today for lunch. Well, not for lunch, for dessert after lunch. I'm having some.
For your lunch.
Today in recording, which we're recording time, not today we just released it.
So since it's canned, is it properly canned? You can leave it sit for a couple years and it'll be fine, or?
If you do it properly, yes. If you do it the me way, no.
Oh.
Also, it won't last. We didn't make it last year. Last year we didn't make them, but the year before my mom made it, and I still had some left. It's been sitting in the back of my fridge because I didn't want to finish it because then it would be over, and I waited too long, and then it wasn't really edible.
Aww.
But I kept it as a symbol. I threw it out whenever I met anyone.
Right.
That needed the jar.
Well, I'm excited for you. That sounds delicious. And now that we're caught up on our weeks, I guess it's time to get on with the show. So, Gonzalo, what was your favorite toy when you were a kid?
Oh my goodness, so many things. I don't know what my actual favorite toy. Let me rephrase. I don't think I had a specific favorite toy. I was a huge fan of Matchbox cars.
Ooh, fun.
So that's why I say not a specific toy, because there wasn't one car that I liked. I just liked cars, and not necessarily Matchbox brand, but that tiny little cars like that. I had a whole bucket.
Nice.
And I would spend hours with them. And I'm pretty sure if I go to my parents' garage, there's still the bucket there.
That's nice that they kept them. Yeah, I was the same way, where I didn't really have one specific favorite toy, but my favorite kind of toy was definitely Barbies, because I was that girl. Oh, look, you found one of your cars.
Yeah, I found two. This one's got a trunk that opens.
Cute.
I don't know why. I've always wondered. These actually were my dad's.
They're adorable.
So this one is a Jaguar XJ6 made in Great Britain. And this one is a Whiz Wheels from Great Britain. And it's a Studebaker. I'll post some pictures of them on Instagram.
Yeah, you have to. They're precious.
Well, I mean, my dad's from the 50s. So.
Yep, so there we go. So that's a great segue, a great way to transition into our toys that were invented in the 50s.
Yes. So the first toy we want to highlight today is the Mr. Potato Head. Jackie, did you ever play with one? Or did you have one?
I feel like I never had one. I feel like I've played with one, like, somewhere. Like, either a friend's house or a cousin's house or a doctor's office or something. Like, I feel like I've played with a Mr. Potato Head before, but I definitely didn't own one. How about you?
I always thought that the Mr. Potato Head toys existed because of Toy Story. Not the other way around.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
I've never played with one. I just seen them at the store. But the Mr. Potato Head, for those of you like me who've never really played with one, it's an American toy produced by Hasbro since 1952. And this toy is a plastic potato head, really is potato body, but we'll get into that in a second, with holes for various attachments. And the attachments are made out of plastic as well, and are meant to be either parts of the body or head or accessories such as a hat or glasses. Typically, it contains ears, eyes, shoes, hat, nose, and sometimes a mustache. In 1952 through 1987, it also came with a pipe. And 73 through 83, and for some reason there was a pause, and starting again in 2010 and moving through today, it included pants. I don't know what happened between 83 and 2010. Because we are moving on in the times, starting this year in 2024, your Mr. Potato Head also comes with headphones.
Of course it does.
So, in its original form, Mr. Potato Head came as just separate plastic parts to be added to a real potato or other vegetable, but let's face it, it's not called the Mr. Turnip Head. And these use sharp push pins to attach to the vegetable. And this led to complaints of rotting vegetables by parents as kids played with them, and also new government safety regulation for toys, and probably also for food, led to the inclusion of plastic body parts instead of saying they're pieces to put on vegetables. So Hasbro started producing and including plastic potato head in the toy in 1964. And the original toy, again, came out in 1952, and Mr. Potato Head received a wife the year after it came out in 1953. Mrs. Potato Head joined Mr. Potato Head that year, and later even came with accessories, including a car and a boat trailer. And more on that in a second. But let's talk a little history first. So, the toy was invented and made by a man named George Lerner, a Brooklyn-born toy inventor, which is a job title that you really don't hear much anymore, do you?
No. Toy inventor.
Yeah, toy inventor.
New toys keep coming out, so that's gotta still be someone's job.
Yeah, but I feel like they're like relegated to either the basement of the factory or like some building somewhere, and it's not like George Lerner, famed toy inventor.
Yeah, good
Esquire. The idea for Mr. Potato Head came to Lerner as an idea of inserting small, pronged body and face parts into vegetables to make a, quote, funny face man, which actually will become the name of the toy first. But the actual inspiration of this idea is not really known. One theory is that Lerner used to grab potatoes and vegetables from the garden and use them to create dolls for his sisters. Another is that he was inspired by his children playing with food in 1949. But in 1951, Lerner prototyped the, quote, funny face man. And originally, there was a lot of hesitation from companies investing or trying to invest, or him wanting them to invest, because they thought that people would not buy this game or this toy because people would be hesitant to waste food. Because remember, the original toy was just the body parts. You had to add the potato. In 1951, Post Cereals purchased the rights to Funny Face Man with an aim to add them to cereal boxes. And in 1952, Hasbro, which was then known as the Hasfeld Brothers, and Lerner bought the rights back to Funny Face Man. And Hasbro included a styrofoam head for the parts, but styrofoam limited reusability, so the packaging still encouraged the use of real potatoes.
Interesting. And this is when we have an ad, which is actually an important one, because in April of 1952, Mr. Potato Head became the first toy to ever be advertised on television, which is wild.
Yes.
This campaign was the first advertisement campaign to be targeted directly to children. Before, they were only targeted to adults, and this revolutionized advertising. They encouraged kids to ask their parents to buy the product, a concept that became known as the nag factor. This advertisement, combined with increased sales of televisions from 1949 to 1952, and a polio outbreak in 1952 that limited children's outdoor exposure, led to a very successful first year. Over 1 million kits sold.
Jeez. In 1 year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And which means that there was like over 1 million potatoes being used as
Wasted.
toys. Wasted. Or maybe not wasted, although I struggle with like okay, here, play with this potato, make it a man, and then, we need the potato back because we gotta cut it up and eat it.
I feel like that's really what happened is like, okay, give me your potato back now that you've had your fun because we need to make dinner.
So many tantrums were probably thrown. But anyway, in 1953, again, Hasbro introduced Mrs. Potato Head, and then after that, a Brother Spud and Sister Yam.
Cute.
More accessories reflected the affluence of America in the 1950s. The Potato Heads, that's what I'm going to call the family from now on, they had a car, a boat trailer, a kitchen, stroller, and pets, whose name was the Spudettes.
Cute.
In the 1960s, Hasbro introduced the Tutti Frutti Friends kit, which was over 60 pieces that allowed for building 4 more characters: Katie the Carrot, Cookie the Cucumber, Oscar the Orange, and Pete the Pepper.
Adorable. It just gets cuter and cuter.
In 1964, Hasbro began to include a separate plastic head and body in each box. Due to the Child Protection Act of 1966 and the Child Protection and Toy Safety Act of 1969, Hasbro combined the head and body into one piece and enlarged the pieces to prevent children from choking on them. So this is where we get the potato head potato that we know to love today. Many changes happened after the mid-century, so here are some of those briefly. So in 1985, Mr. Potato Head received 4 mail-in votes in the run for mayor of Boise, Idaho, in the, quote, most votes for Mr. Potato Head in a political campaign, as verified by the Guinness World Records. In 1989, Hasbro replaced the attached bendable arms with removable plastic arms. And in the 1990s, Mr. Potato Head received an award from the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports, and this award was presented by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What the heck? That's so funny.
I love this toy. I want one now. Which, as an adult, I'm totally within my right to go and purchase.
You can just go buy one now. Dreams do come true. So today, probably people are the most familiar with the toy thanks to a small series of films that may or may not be widely known, Toy Story. So, in 1995, Mr. Potato Head was a lead role in the film. He was voiced by the late Don Rickles. The character returned for Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3, and Toy Story 4. The Toy Story 4 came out in 2019, but Don Rickles actually died in 2017, so the director of the last film used unused archival audio as a voice in the film.
I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty neat that we can do that.
Yeah.
And changing with the times, in 2021, Hasbro dropped the honorific brand name and started to market the toy as simply Potato Head.
Yes. But Toy Story is not the only movie that is related to Mr. Potato Head, or I guess we should start calling him Potato Head.
Indeed.
There's several versions, and there's several special versions. So Star Wars has a series of Mr. Potato Heads called Darth Tater, R2 Potato, Luke Skywalker, Yam Solo, and Spud Fett.
I can't decide which one of those I hate the most.
They get better. The Transformers film franchise in 2007 came out with the Optimus Prime. Spider-Man has the Spider Spud or the Peter Tater. And Indiana Jones has one inspired, and there's one inspired by Indiana Jones, and it's called Taters of the Lost Ark.
Oh my goodness.
This is as ridiculous as the Hot Dog Council.
It is just this is probably sillier than the Hot Dog Council. Oh my goodness. Speaking of jobs you don't think about people having, someone's job is to come up with these bad potato puns.
Well, they need a raise. Anyway, if you guys want the classic potato head toy, you can get it on Amazon for $7.99, and this includes 13 parts to, quote, create funny faces. It includes the feet, the iconic black derby hat, a mustache, glasses, and a smile.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how we're going to top that, but we do have some other vintage toys to cover. So the next toy you should put on your list to Santa is the hula hoop, which would actually be really difficult to wrap now that I'm thinking about it. But what is a hula hoop?
A circle. A hoop?
According to the official toy description, it is a toy hoop that is twirled around the waist, limbs, or neck, can also be wheeled along the ground like a wheel, but this requires pretty careful execution and practice. Although origins take us well before our time here on the podcast. 500 BCE.
Yeah.
Interesting. The modern hula hoop is actually from the mid-century. So its origin story is said to be Australian, that the creators of the plastic hoop saw Australian children playing with bamboo hoops as they drove past them. The new plastic hula hoop was made popular in 1958 by the Wham-O toy company.
Best name.
Yeah, everything in the 50s just had the best names. I much prefer Wham-O toy company to Taters of the Lost Ark.
I'm sorry. I like art to potato. Sorry.
Sorry, where were we? Okay. Children's hula hoops tend to measure about 28 inches in diameter, which is 70 centimeters. While those for adults, yes, this toy is for adults too, measure 39 inches in diameter, or about 100 centimeters. Commercial hoops are made out of plastic tubing and sometimes filled with water or sand, but remember that the base origins of this are much more ancient, so traditional hula hoops can be made out of willow, grapevines, and stiff grasses.
Yes. So Jackie teased a little bit for the origins earlier. So let's dive a little deeper into the origins and history of the hula hoops. So there's no definitive information on the origins because no one wrote stuff down back then. But there is a Native American hoop dance, which is a form of storytelling that uses hoops as props, in which they represent various animals or symbols. And typically the dance is performed by a solo dancer using multiple hoops. Author Charles Panatti has written about a craze of hula hoop use in 14th century England. This craze of wooden and metal hoops used by people led to doctors treating patients with pain, dislocated backs, and even heart failure due to hooping.
Whoa.
Yeah. Panatti also attributes the word hula to the Hawaiian dance of the 18th century due to similar hip movements necessary for both. But the modern hula hoop gained international popularity in the 1950s. This was due to the toy company Wham-O, which we mentioned earlier, successfully marketing the plastic hoop. Now, cane hoops have been used and have been popular children's toy in the mid-century, or by the mid-century. In 1957, children in Norway were described in the English press as playing with rock rings, which were, quote, huge cane rings which little girls swing around their bodies by moving their hips and arms. And this craze swept through Norway. That same summer, Australian girls were playing with giant rings, like in Norway, and the news eventually made it to the USA that same year. So its path to plastic started in Australia when a Sydney teacher taught school students how to sway bamboo hoops in sports classes. And this led to Australian department store Coles starting to sell bamboo hoops and quickly outselling its stock. So they turned to, quote, legendary toy maker, again, that great title, Alex Tolmer, to help mass produce the hoops. And in 1957, Tolmer used polyethylene, which is stronger and less brittle than some other plastics, and created a new lightweight hoop. And these sold in a variety of colors for less than $2, which about today would be $22. And Tolmer sold 400,000 in Australia just in the remainder of 1957.
Wow.
Yeah. So Toll Toys, which is the company owned by Tolmer, worked with Wham-O Toys in California in the USA to bring them to the USA. So by 1958, Wham-O was selling them in California, and the hooping craze began to take over in the USA.
And we have some cool advertisement info for this toy as well. So the earliest known advertisement was seen for the hula hoop by Wham-O and was seen on June 16th, 1958. for the Broadway chain of department stores in Los Angeles for sale for $1.98. Carlon Products Corporation was one of the earliest producers of the hula hoop, and its success was instant. 25 million units were sold in the first 4 months. Over the next 2 years, Whammo would sell more than 100 million hula hoops.
Wow.
This prompted Carlon Corporation to produce more. In the 1950s, they were producing more than 50,000 hula hoops per day. Whammo suddenly had too many. Then the initial craze died down, and they stopped producing until 1965. So they were just selling the same batch of hula hoops until they...
Pretty much. I mean, they don't spoil, so you just put them in a shelf.
Yeah, you just leave them there. In 1965, production resumed due to the idea to insert ball bearings in the cylinder tube to make a swoosh sound, which was a very good choice. Because
Yes.
I don't think it would be as fun if it didn't make the noise. So the hula hoop craze swept the world, staying strong until the 1980s, except for in China and Russia, though there the use of the hoop switched from toy to traditional circuses, and rhythmic gymnasts adopting them for their performances. The mid-1990s saw a reemergence of hula hooping, but referred to it as hoop dance or hooping to make it sound more adult, because this was not a craze by kids playing with toys, but rather adults dancing. Also in the mid-90s, in 1994, the Coen brothers made a movie kind of about the invention of the hula hoop called The Hudsucker Proxy that I had to watch in my understanding film class in college, and it was really good. It gets like a 7.2 on IMDb, and I don't hear people talk about it that much, but it was important enough that my film professor thought that we all needed to watch it, so do recommend. And in 1999, the hoop was inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame in Rochester, New York.
Yes. So moving on from the toy, the jam band The String Cheese Incident is credited with renewing the interest in hula hoops because it started throwing adult-sized hoops into their audiences in the mid to late 1990s, encouraging them to hoop and dance.
Cool.
In 2003, communities of hoopers began to form and connect via a new website, hooping.org, which is also like early internet, which early thousands internet was so weird. It was like lawless land.
It was weird.
Yeah. San Francisco began holding regular hoop jams with music, and the same was seen in many cities around the world. And this led to the first World Hoop Day in 2007. Now, World Hoop Day, or as it's known as WHD, is an annual event that takes place on the first Saturday of October, and it's a day to celebrate the hula hoop and all that it represents, such as community, joy, and playfulness. Modern hoopers make their own hoops, sometimes out of PVC piping, which can be much larger and heavier than the hoops of the 1950s. These are often used by professional dancers in their routines. Heavier ones typically are for beginners and easy tricks, lighter and thinner ones used for quick hand tricks, and sometimes they are covered in fabric or tape to create a visual image, and sometimes have things like glow in the dark or are filled with LED lighting and made out of clear material so that they can be seen at like a rave.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Hooping is actually also a popular fitness activity with classes around the world. Weighted hula hoops can weigh between 1.5 and 8 pounds, and people use them for weight loss routines and classes, which tend to circle around. When I was writing that, I didn't mean the pun, but it came out.
Yep.
Tend to circle around music and repetitive routines to make it fun. Fire hooping is also a thing, and that involves spikes on the outside of the hoop tipped with Kevlar wicks and soaked in fuel and ignited prior to dancing.
Wild.
Yes.
Man, that would be fun to watch. So, are you any good at hula hooping?
I am not. Which you would think I would be.
Yeah, I feel like people who know how to dance have an advantage in this situation.
So it's not about side to side, it's about front to back.
The hula hoop?
Mm-hmm.
I could never figure it out as a kid, and I don't like doing things that I don't know how to do in public. So I just refuse to play with hula hoops. And so I never got good at it as a kid, so I don't think I could start up as an adult.
Anyway, the last toy we want to talk about today is maybe not a toy at all. So maybe it is a sporting equipment, or maybe it's a tool for carrying food like pie, or maybe it's a toy. Because what we're talking about is the Frisbee. So the Frisbee is a type of flying disc, or simply a disc. And it is a gliding toy generally made out of an injection molded plastic and roughly 8 to 10 inches in diameter with a pronounced lip. aka upside down, and looks like a very shallow bowl. And it is used recreationally and also competitively for throwing and catching. So science, there's science behind this. This is so exciting. We're not a technical podcast, but this is fun. So the shape of the disc is actually an airfoil. So in cross section, it's an airfoil, which means that it allows it to fly by reducing the drag and increasing the lift as it moves through the air, when compared to a flat plate, which is not an airfoil. And this is the same principle that makes airplanes fly.
Oh, cool.
Yes. So spinning creates a stabilizing gyroscopic force, which also allows the thrower to have a good level of accuracy in throwing and also distance, if they know what they're doing. But the term frisbee, which describes them all, is actually a registered trademark of the Whammo company. So here they come again to rule the world.
Cool.
Here they come to rule the world. Anyway. The original frisbee was invented in the 1930s by Walter Frederick Morrison. Him and his wife were actually having fun just tossing a popcorn can lid after Thanksgiving dinner in 1937. And hey, look, Thanksgiving, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
They soon discovered that they weren't the only ones who could have fun doing this and began offering for 25 cents, the equivalent of about $5 today, people in a beach near LA, cake pans for tossing back and forth. Yes. World War II stopped the Morrisons from expanding because Walter served in the Army Air Force flying P-47s and was also taken as a prisoner of war.
Oh.
After World War II, Morrison sketched a design to aerodynamically improve the flying disc and named it the Whirlaway. In 1948, him and a business partner, Warren Franscioni, began producing their plastic flying discs and named them the Flying Saucer, without the G, Flying Saucer, to latch onto the increasing interest in UFOs and aliens in space that the mid-century drove on.
That's smart.
Yes. So Morrison and Franscioni ended their business relationship in 1950, and Morrison continued with his own company in 1954, selling the Flying Saucers made out of flexible polypropylene plastic manufactured by South California Plastics. In 1955, he designed a new model, the Pluto Platter. It's so hard to say this episode with a straight face. In 1957, Morrison sold the rights to Whammo, and Whammo gave the toy a new game, the Frisbee, after learning that college students were calling the Pluto Platter by that name. And this comes actually from a Connecticut-based pie manufacturer, the Frisbee Pie Company. And in Yale, students were tossing empty pie tins stamped with the company's logo in the same way that Morrison and his wife had in 1937. And a shout out to this can be seen in Back to the Future 3, when Marty throws an empty pie tin to stop Biff from shooting Doc. The tin is clearly marked Frisbee Pies.
Interesting. So they were calling real frisbees just because they looked like the pie plates that they were throwing. And
Correct.
Then they decided to name it after that. That's cool.
Yeah. Although I kind of wish they were called Pluto Platters.
Yeah, Pluto Platter was cute, but it looked like it didn't keep that name for very long.
Yeah. But the Pluto Platter did have like stamped planets on it. It's kind of cool.
That is cute. And I kind of liked Flying Saucer too. But
I like Pluto Platter. Anyway, Whammo fought decreasing sales by changing their strategy. They began to market and use the Frisbee as a sport, and then sales increased. In 1964, the first professional model for sports went on sale. And Whammo general manager and vice president of marketing, Ed Hedrick, patented the sport design with raised ridges that claimed to stabilize flight. And these ridges are now known as the rings of Hedrick. And they are rings that come out like from the center of the Frisbee and come out. Hedrick became the father of Frisbee sports by creating the International Frisbee Association and establishing tournaments in North America for various Frisbee sports, such as freestyle, double disc golf, and others. Hedrick helped develop disc golf by inventing standardized targets, and when he died, he was cremated and his ashes made into memorial discs that were given to family and close friends. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't either. So, what happened to the Frisbees of today? So, the longest recorded disc throw is by David Wiggins Jr. with a distance of 338 meters, or 1,109 feet. In 1998, the Frisbee was inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame. And Frisbee as a sport is actually really popular. There are some variations on it, so there are 3 main categories depending on the disc's purpose. There's ultimate disc, golf disc, or freestyle discs. The ultimate Frisbee is designed to be used in the sport of ultimate Frisbee, so it's made of durable plastic and designed to be thrown for maximum distance and accuracy. The standard diameter of 10.75 inches, and it weighs 175 grams. Standards are set for competitive uses to ensure quality. Then there's disc golf, and this Frisbee is used in the sport of disc golf. It's smaller in size and shape to ultimate disc, but have different weights and designs. So there's a minimum diameter, which is 8.3 inches. It's often made out of polypropylene. So there are 3 main types, and they are golfy names. So there's drivers, which are for long distance throws. There's mid-range discs for more controlled shots, and there's putters for short and accurate throws into the target. And the whims are sharper to reduce wind drag. Then there are freestyle discs, which is yet another variation used in freestyle Frisbee competitions. They're usually smaller and lighter than all the other competition discs, but they have a diameter of 10 inches and weigh at around 160 grams. All are subject to change depending on the performer's needs.
Yes.
Currently, these sports are managed by the World Frisbee Disc Federation, or the WFDF, which is a thing. Freestyle has been recognized by the International Olympic Committee as a sport in 2015.
Yeah, and remember, guys, we did a show on the Olympics, so we'll put it in the show notes. It'll explain the International Olympic Committee.
This was not part of the 2024 games, but the WFDF is trying to make it part of the 2032 Brisbane Games.
Mm-hmm.
There are some other kinds of Frisbees. So there's disc dog discs, which are slower and more of a pliable material to resist a dog's bite and prevent injury to the dog. There's illuminated discs made of phosphorescent plastic or that contain battery-powered LEDs. Then there's also a double disc court, which is a game invented in 1974, played with 2 flying discs and 2 teams of 2 players, and each team defends its court and tries to land a flying disc on the opposing court. That's cool. So it's kind of like tennis?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like tennis and handball and basketball all put together.
Neato.
And play with Frisbees.
And then there's another game called Guts, which is essentially dodgeball, but with Frisbees.
Which sounds like a lot of fun to play.
Do you just throw them at people? Like, is it actually like dodgeball? Neat. Cool.
Do you remember, Jackie, that's random summer in high school where we all played Ultimate Frisbee on Sundays?
I remember you guys playing that. I never played any of the sports activities. But yeah, I do
you
remember
were there.
that. Huh?
You were there.
Yeah, I was there, but I didn't play it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was random.
Can you imagine me throwing a Frisbee? It would like turn around and hit me in the head. Like I'd be the only one who accidentally had a boomerang at the Frisbee park. Like
but now that we've caught to the present-ish with that story, I think it's time for our etiquette segment. So, Jackie, what do we have today?
So, since we're talking about toys, I was trying to find like Christmas present or like kid Christmassy etiquette sort of thing. So this brought me back to Etiquette Junior, the 1965 edition that I brought up ages ago now, but still find fascinating. So here's some etiquette on gifts, sometimes Christmas, but also all gift giving. So, at Christmas time, families often band together to buy one good present for each member instead of quantities of trinkets that have temporary interest and no permanent value, which is a good idea for families but does not work outside of the home circle. So this is where the etiquette for that comes in. Basically, they're saying families can do that, but no one else. Because someone often proposes taking up a collection and getting one good present. No one should do this. The cooperative gift is the bane of every school and office. Asking everyone to chip in probably works hardship on some members of the group who don't feel free to say so.
Okay,
which
like
I think
peer
is
pressure.
Fair. Yeah, you don't want to peer pressure people into giving money. There was also some etiquette I should have included but didn't, where basically they say, like, being nice all year round is better than trying to make up for ignoring someone all year by giving them a present to make up for it. Which is good general, like, friendship advice. So back to specific gifts. So money must never be given as a Christmas present by young people. Aside from tips, money is only given as a gift by older persons where the relationship is very close. The money or the check should be enclosed in a note that explains why money was sent instead of some other sort of Christmas present.
Like, I forgot to buy you one, so here's $40.
Yes. Or use this money to buy something that you like or something like that. I've gotten a lot of that kind of explanation. A boy may give a girl, if he knows her well enough to give her any present, books, candy, flowers, records, something inexpensive and impersonal. He may never give her money, jewelry, or intimate personal things. The same rule applies to gifts a girl may give to a boy, though girls should be more sparing with their gift giving. Brothers and sisters, of course, are outside of these limitations. If a boy tries to give a girl a present that's too personal or expensive, she should refuse in a kind way and try not to hurt his feelings. They, however, do not give any advice on how you're supposed to let them down without hurting their feelings, so you have to sort of wing it, I guess. No gifts should ever be sent without a card or note of some kind containing the sender's name. An anonymous gift is bad form.
Interesting.
And then I included this little bit at the end because it's kind of related. So thank you notes. All thank you notes for Christmas gifts should be sent before 12th night. And birthday or shower gifts should be acknowledged within a week. In every letter of thanks, the gift should be mentioned specifically. Never use a pre-filled out thank you card, and instead use a personal note of thanks. So what do we think?
I like them, especially for kids. I think these are good rules for kids. I will say that as a kid nor as an adult, I've never sent thank you notes for Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
Maybe I should.
I think probably I should, if like someone's mailing you a gift, possibly. That would probably be the right thing to do.
Okay,
but I
can do
think
that.
maybe a phone call would work too.
Yeah.
Like, hey, thanks for the present. But
yeah, okay, I can do that.
It doesn't say anything about telephone calls in this, so.
Telephone, what's that? People calling?
But other than that, I think it's all pretty good advice. But yeah, you're right. I should have clarified it. It's from Etiquette Junior, so this is Etiquette to Children. But yeah. I like how this whole book explains what the adults are doing too. It's not just saying this is what kids should do. It's saying like this is what society is doing and this is how it applies to you. So I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I think we should stamp it.
Cool. Approved. We need a stamp sound effect.
We do. I'll work on it.
Okay.
But with that, it looks like we have landed the plane. Thank you all for listening today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the show and tell a friend.
You can also follow us on YouTube and Instagram at MCL Podcast. Instagram is the best place to send us feedback and episode suggestions. Send us a DM anytime. You can also contact us through our new Send Us a Text Message feature in the show notes. And if you do, we'll read it on our next episode.
Yeah, so send us some fan mail. And guys, thanks for listening. For those of you who are our loyal listeners, we will be taking a short break from podcasting, or from recording podcasts, I guess I should say, for the next month so that we can spend some Christmas time with our friends and loved ones. We will still be releasing some stuff on the feed, so make sure you're still subscribed so you can still get mid-century vibes in your
modern life.
Favorite podcast platform.
Yes.
So stay tuned, and we have some great things coming for next season. So
indeed,
make sure that you are subscribed.
Indeed. So bye, everyone.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year and Christmas and all that stuff.
Thank you for listening to Mid-Century Living. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at MCL Podcast. See you next Friday.